Today on CityCast Nashville, we're talking about creative expression in these challenging times. I'm joined by Nina Adele, Program Director of the Porch's Immigrants Right Workshop, and Nigeli Ortega-Prater, a poet and first-generation immigrant from Monterrey, Mexico. Nigeli's story will sound familiar to a lot of people whose immigrant journeys brought them here to Tennessee. And through the Immigrants Right program, she's found a safe space for self-expression and connection. Can't wait for y'all to learn more about it. It's Monday, February 24th. I'm your host, Marie Cecil Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Nina, welcome to CityCast Nashville.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And Nigeli, hi.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it really is such a pleasure having you both. There's been a lot of concern in Nashville for our immigrant community recently due to Trump's mass deportation plans and the immigration bill that just passed in the Tennessee Legislative Special Session recently. How does your Immigrants Right program create a safe space for its participants?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And we've actually just been discussing that in the workshop and actually at the Porch staff meetings too. I think that there's two kinds of things. There's on an emotional level, right? What happens in the workshop. And so, we know that self-expression creates a sense of space and comfort and sort of excavates trauma and fear and nurtures calm. Calm is very important for safety. So that's, on an emotional level. But then we also talk on a more tangible, lived experience, practical level. We talk about safety. So confidentiality is very important. We publish and we have a new fellowship program, and these things could create spaces where people are vulnerable. And so we prevent that. We make sure that nobody has to use a name if they don't want to use a name. We make sure when we do publish, we have an anthology. Safety also means not being restricted to English. So we can publish bilingual pieces. We can publish multilingual pieces. We can publish work in the native language of the workshop member. And there is no requirement for conforming. We have a great resource. A former workshop member and member of the board of the Porch is Pratik Dash, who is the legal director of the Tennessee Immigrants and Refugee Rights Coalition. And so he is really available for consult. So it's not just the emotional part of a creative writing workshop, and it's not just the networking together and also the visiting that space together and feeling good, but it's also on a practical level. I do tell the members of the workshop that if there is anything that makes them feel unsafe, to talk to me about it, let me know. And those are really key elements to intentionally create a safe space.
Nigeli, can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, as a member, I think just being in a space with a group of people that have similar experiences as you just kind of, fosters a sense of security that you feel, that you're not going to be judged for sharing your experiences. Sometimes we may feel, scared to talk about some of these things at work or at school, but the workshop and just knowing that the people around you have had similar experiences, and it just kind of provides that community that understands. I think that's important, just to kind of lift each other up and know how to help each other.
Do you find the need for this type of workshop in 2025 more important than maybe the past years?
Absolutely. I think just with everything, going on in our state, the community overall just needs an outlet of expression. It's so important to just show up for each other right now.
Would you mind sharing your immigrant story with us?
So yes, so my family and I, we moved here from Mexico when I was 10. This was in the early 90s. So we've been here a very long time. My dad had already been here working, and he had saved up some money. We were going to stay on a 2-week vacation. That was what we thought when we came, and we did overstay. That placed us in the undocumented category, of immigration. I went through the school system here. I made good grades. I was a good student. My real dilemma started in high school. I really wanted to do more with my life. I wanted to go to college. At the time, there was no DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. There wasn't any real resources for kids like me in a rural area in Tennessee. I was lucky to live in a community that cared, and people pulled money in for me to go to college and pay out-of-state tuition for 2 years because they believed in me. And I'm so grateful for everyone, that's always helped my family and I along. We've always tried to contribute back to our community, So I did 2 years and associates and tried to do with that what I could. It wasn't until 2007 that I became a permanent resident. I went back to college to MTSU, got a teaching degree, went back to the high school that I graduated from and actually taught high school there. And in 2010, I became a citizen. And then I was then able to help my parents with their immigration status. And my sister at that time was able to take advantage of the DACA program, which we are so thankful for. But that's kind of been my story.
Najeli, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind maybe sharing one of your poems with us.
Yeah, so it's a short poem, actually just published on an online forum called the Dandelion Scribe. So shout out to them. And thank you for publishing my poem. It's called Se Marchito, which translates to It Wilted. I once longed for a flower so bad, I wilted it with want. I once held it so close, it suffocated with love. Dripping in petals and honeysuckle tears, it yellowed, tending to soil, stem, and leaves. No matter the vessel, I've drowned it. Root-bound, in bitter silence, it will not grow green again. Not in sun, not in shadows, I've scorched it with my light.
Wow.
Oh.
That was beautiful.
We're so lucky to have her in the workshop.
Thank you.
So did you write that in the workshop, or was that some of your separate work that you do outside of class? I'm sure you're always writing as an artist.
Part of that came to me during one of our sessions, and, just spending more time outside, kind of trying to put it together.
Were you writing before taking this workshop?
Oh, yes. I've been writing from an early age. My dad was a writer.
Oh, really?
He wrote poetry. He would write poems for my mom all the time. I've always written, but around the pandemic, COVID, I needed that more, I feel like, that sense of expression. And I lost my dad during that time as well. And I sought out community. And I found a wonderful community in Murfreesboro, Poetry in the Borough. Then I found the Immigrants Right group. And yeah, I've been with Nina since every session.
Well, real quick, for those listeners at home that may not be familiar with the Porch, could you just give us a quick rundown of what they do here in town?
The Porch is Nashville's literary arts center. It's a nonprofit, and we have a youth program. We have this program, the Immigrants Right program. We have something called Writing for Good. We have affinity groups, so we have an LGBTQ group. We have a group for older writers, for younger writers. We have an AAPI writers group, just all different kinds of affinity groups. We do events. Just this past Sunday, we had Heartbreak Happy Hour, which is a storytelling event pre-Valentine's Day. We're joining forces, specifically our workshop, but also just as the Porch with Paul Collins, who's an Austin P art professor. We're joining forces with his Unbannable Library project, and we're going to create books that are a collaboration between a visual artist and writers who provide text. The Porch just really seeks to open spaces for creative writing expression.
And you have this workshop twice a year, is that correct?
The actual workshop is twice a year. So we have a fall session and then a winter-spring session. But in the summer, we also have other activities. And that really depends on the needs and desires of the workshop members. Last summer, rather than having group workshops, members wanted to workshop their individual pieces with me. And so we used our summer hours for members to send me their work and then have a meeting with me to discuss craft and things like that.
Because of what's happening this year, is your program changing?
So our program is changing, I think, sort of on two tracks. One track is that all of a sudden we've got more members from more countries, and all of a sudden there's an energy in the workshop to do more things. And so we've added a couple of new programs. Nayeli is going to be the editor of our brand new newsletter, which is first, because of safety, going to be available just to present and past workshop members. But we're also starting this program, the Immigrants Right Fellows. And this program came from a deeply held belief of mine that it's a big and perhaps unnecessary ask to expect immigrants to come to the Porch's workshop to participate in this activity, that it's essential for immigrants' right to go to people in their communities where people are safer, where people have agency over the work that they do as writers and blossoming artists, whatever they want to be, or just people involved in self-expression. And so what I proposed is that we have a program where we recruit members from various immigrant communities and community centers and organizations throughout Middle Tennessee, invite them to come and spend 8 weeks in our workshop. And then the cohort of fellows will each go to their respective communities. We're starting with 3 people per cohort, and lead workshops based on what they learn. So by inviting these fellows to come to us and providing a stipend for them to attend, to work as a cohort, and then go into their own communities and deliver workshops in any way that they define community, it is going to not only provide writing opportunities for more people, more immigrants in Middle Tennessee, but it might also encourage some people to come and join our multicultural group.
You know, we had our introductory session and we had people joining from Boston, from New York City, from California, and the backgrounds are so diverse. I mean, we have someone that's from Senegal, Nepal, Lebanon, India, Poland, you know, so it's definitely just kind of a way to tie what we all have to offer and showcase it.
And then Nina, you're an artist, you're a writer, and you've worked in music. How has that shaped your approach to leading this program?
Well, first of all, I personally, as an artist and as a human, inhabit a world of ideas and innovation and creating new things. And I think that's essential to creating a space like this. I believe that any individual's interaction with a work of art, whether it be a song or a sculpture or a story or a poem, is really important, their individual interaction with that work. You know, I teach a lot of kinds of classes. I teach at a college too, and I always tell my students, whether they're as readers or as writers, you know, to look at a work and instead of thinking about how they're supposed to analyze it or how they're supposed to interact with it, which is, I think, a barrier, instead, I say, ask yourself, what do you notice? And that's your entry point. And so if, as people who interact with art, we have that approach, then also as people who create art, we need even more of that kind of openness. And we need to be willing to interact with experience, with vulnerability. And so these are concepts that I hold dear, and that shapes my approach. I think that even when you're dealing with the hardest topics and the most vulnerable and even painful topics, warmth and caring is essential. And just letting people know that I hear them and I want others to hear them. And that's really what has shaped my approach to this program.
That's so important. It's so overlooked, but yeah, and especially I think during these times to find community and a safe place, which it sounds like you're doing all of those things with this program. I'd like to end on just learning a little bit more about the public reading celebration and storytelling event that you have planned for May. What can we expect from that? How can we all come out and support?
We have a partnership with TIRC, Tennessee Immigrants and Refugee Rights Coalition. And so we expect to hold this event in late May in that beautiful space. And one of the things about this workshop is that it's really important that it be a democratic workshop and that I, as the director of the program, am not dictating to the workshop members what we're going to do at an event. So what I can tell you is that what the public will experience is something that will be created by the workshop members. There will be food because, a celebration should have food and drink, and there'll be the members will be performing their work, and we will bring our members from afar in to perform their works via Zoom on a big giant screen.
Oh, how cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, well, this conversation has been just lovely. Is there anything I have missed?
Earlier, you asked something about community, especially now in 2025. And I just kind of wanted to add that I just feel just for anyone that right now it is an important time to create and to kind of have a record of what life is now for you, regardless of your background. I just think creating is so important to try to process a lot of the things that we personally go through, whether we're immigrant or just living life here today. It is especially important to just create and be active in that.
If you want to join the workshop because you are an immigrant or the child of immigrants, shoot me an email at Nina, Nina, @porchtn.org. You can also visit the Porch on the web at porchtn.org and see all the things that we're doing, and then specifically go to the Immigrants' Right page and get more information about us. And I personally am happy to interact with anyone who wants to join or know about our workshop and fill you in, bring you in.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marie.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!